Hello and welcome to another video, this time about equipment in floorball, especially sticks and blades. This is a little bit off topic, but yeah, I thought it might be interesting, especially for new players, but also maybe for players who play a little bit longer and want to get into the equipment stuff a little bit more. So this chart is about sticks. Of course, it's not all the brands there are on the market, but those who are the most relevant now. There are a few some smaller brands that came up the last years, but I think these 6 brands are those who are the most relevant and most played by the time now. So, yeah, on the left side you see the brand, and on the right side you see the class of the weight of the stick. Of course, this is not really accurate. It depends on the grip you play, on the blade you play. Um, Even the shafts in one series are all not the same. They vary about 5 grams sometimes. So this is more an orientation for you in the line itself, where the stick you might play or you want to play is and how heavy it might be about. Okay, so let's start with Unihawk. I think it's maybe the oldest brand on the market and maybe also the biggest brand in terms of selling numbers. I'm not sure about that, but it's only guess. Yeah. So you see at the heavy side, or I said heavier, it's not really heavy, but if you compare it to other sticks or models which are on the market, you have to say it's definitely heavier, and you will feel it if you try a stick in a shop or whatever. You have the regular, the Super Sin regular. It was there until last season. It was a old model, the Top Light or the Top Light 2 model, and they don't sell it in the next season. Maybe they will have it in the future. I don't know. They have now performance stick, but it's not the same weight as the regular stick. It's heavier, I think, because it has more glass fiber in it and less carbon. So then you come to the middle class from the Unihawk range. It's now called Pro series. In the past, it was the Super Top Light, also a shaft which exists quite long. I don't know, maybe 10 years or something like that. So this is quite light, not really light, but it's I think you won't it won't feel heavy in your hands. If you play 101 centimeter, 100 is at Unihawk Zone and 101 is at Oxstock Fat Pipe and Axle. Zalming I think is also 100 centimeter. Of course you can shorten your stick if you want to, but that's the shaft length which they sell it in. Of course, you can have 96 centimeters or sometimes 103 or 104 if you want to, but 100, 101 is, I think, for adults the most played stick length or most sold stick length. So that's what I'm referring to. Yeah, then you come to the light range. I think this is the range which is played most from players who are a little bit more advanced, because the middle class, of course, it's not really heavy, but you will feel the difference to the light and very light, of course, to the lightest. But you will feel the difference, and it's more durable. Some players like to have it a little bit more heavier, especially for shooting. But I think at the light range there's a little advantage in dribbling and stuff like that, and also the feeling of the ball. So I think this might be the series which are played most at professional or semi-professional players on the world. So at the Unihawk brand, it's the Max. They call it Max. It was introduced as the Miracle Light. I don't know, maybe 6 years ago or something like that, and then they changed the name. That's why I wrote it there, so you can compare it. Maybe you have an old stick, so if you want to buy a new one, so you can compare what it's called today. The seasons before, they added to the Pro and to the Max the term the Super Skin. I can show it on the website. They now don't have it anymore. I think the shaft is still the same, but yeah, they just shortened the name of the model. And then you have a very light stick, the carp skin stick. It was introduced as the Textreme stick. I think it's also it was 2014 maybe when they introduced it, so yeah, quite long ago. This is really light. You will definitely feel the difference to the middle class, to the pro stick, and to the heavier sticks. You can also feel a little bit difference to the lightweight stick, like the Max stick, I would say. Depends a little bit on the blade and yeah, how strong you are maybe and so on. But yeah, this is definitely very, very light. And then they had the Evolab sticks introduced, I think, 2 seasons ago, which are called the lightest sticks in the world from all brands. I think that might be true. It's really light. I had it in the hand one time, but yeah, the disadvantage might be that it's maybe not as durable as the other sticks. It's just a guess because it has to be thinner, of course. There's no other chance that it's so light. And if you play it with a heavier blade, it's equipped with a Unilight blade, which is a very light blade. I think it's 64 grams, which is quite light. But if you play it with another blade, like Epic Blade or whatever, what you have from the Unihawk range, it might feel a little bit disbalanced because the shaft is so lightweight that the blade feels really heavy on the end. So this might be a disadvantage if you want to play it with another blade, or if you're used to maybe the Epic Blade, which is around quite long. So yeah, just have that in mind if you want to buy that stick. Yeah, then we come to the Zone, and you see at Unihawk and Zone, I wrote a Renew group. It's because they are from the same company. It's the Renew group, I think. They are located in Sweden. So 2 different brands, but the same group. I think Zone was a own company years ago. I don't know how many, and then they, I don't know, joined, merged, or whatever. Unihawk was buying Zone. I'm not sure, but today they are the same company. You cannot switch blades and sticks or combine them from both brands, even though it's the same company, because they are not tested together. So it's not allowed officially if you're not playing in the IFF leagues or whatever. Of course, just for practice, you can change blades or combine them. Even though, even from other brands, you can do that in practice, of course, but you cannot play with them in official matches. Yeah, so you see there's the ultralight, which is still sold at Zone. So and you might see in the chart that the shafts are quite the same. They are just called different, and of course they have a different appearance. So yeah, you have the ultralight shaft from Zone. The wording might be a little bit confusing because ultralight sounds really, really light, but it's not. It's like, yeah, regular stick, 80% carbon, 20% glass fiber, durable stick, but not really light. And it's the same, basically the same shaft as the regular shaft from the Unihawk brand. Then you have the middle class. It's called Superlight. It's also, yeah, good shaft, really, really long on the market. I don't know how long, over 10 years, I think. They didn't change the name as Unihawk did, so it's still the same name as 10, 20, I don't know, 12 years ago, something like that. The same as the Pro Shaft with glass fiber, a little bit more durable but heavier. And then they have the Airlight, also didn't change the name, it's 100% carbon, same as the Max Shaft from Unihawk, also 100% carbon. It should be the same weight. And then you have the ProLite, which is a little bit newer, but not so new now. But then, yeah, they introduced it later than Unihawk introduced the Techstream or Carpskin series, but it should be about the same weight. I'm not sure if it's the same like carbon material. I don't know, but it's definitely in the same weight range. But Zone doesn't have a super light stick like the Evolab. Maybe they will have it also a few years later, like Unihawk, because Unihawk might be the main brand of the company. I don't know. But for now, the ProLite is the lightest shaft from the Zone brand. Yeah, but I think for most players it's light enough. So Evo Lab is something interesting, maybe really nice if you're like really into dribbling much, or you want to just really light stick. Might be a great choice, but Carpskin or ProLite definitely are light enough for players who want a really light shaft, especially if you equip it with a light blade like Unilight from the Unihawk and the new R1 blade from Zone. It feels should feel really light as a whole stick. Okay, now we come to Oxstock, a brand which is also not as new, but I think the newest blade, not blade, newest brand from all the brands here on the chart. But yeah, they got really big on the market in the last years. I think they have many pro teams in SSL and F Liga, also in Czech Republic in the first league. They have many pro teams signed, and I don't know, maybe they get even more. Yeah, we will see that. So they didn't change the names of the stick that much. Only I think the goat stick, which they introduced, I don't know, 2 seasons ago. Yeah, I think this is the only one they changed the name. At least in the last seasons, 3-4 seasons. So they have the Fusion Light, which is very it's quite heavy stick, but also very durable. I think they released it for like beginner players, but also for some pro players which want to have a very hard flex, because they also sell the stick as a 23 flex, which is I think the hardest flex you can have. I don't remember if there ever was a 22 or 21 flex in in any brand in the past. So they have the 23 flex, and some players really want a hard flex to play with, because maybe they are really strong and want to shoot hard. I'm not sure if Justus Kainulainen, for example, plays this kind of flex. Sami Johansson maybe also plays this flex, and Ville Lastica. I'm not sure, but I think they are players who do. Yeah. So and then you have the middle class. It's Sense, also a stick which they have quite long. The interesting thing at Oxstock is they have only 100% carbon sticks, as far as I know. They have some compound sticks which are heavier than the Fusion Lights. So of course every brand has more sticks than I have on the chart, but for like beginners and schools and whatever. But I'm more focusing now on sticks which are more practical for those who really want to play also in leagues, even though you're not maybe in the first league in your country, but those who want to play like regularly, these sticks should be something you can really use. So you have the Sense series, which is simply a little bit heavier than the others, but also 100% carbon. Then you have ultralight sticks, also introduced quite long ago. And then you have the Hyperlight. I think this is maybe might be lighter than Carpskin or ProLite. I'm not sure because I don't have the stick and I was not able to weigh it, but should be a little bit lighter, not much, but a little bit maybe. Especially because Oxstock has thinner shafts than the other brands. Well, Unihawk and Zone now released, and also Fatpipe released thinner shafts too, but Oxdog doesn't have a big diameter. So the biggest diameter is 24 millimeters of the shaft on the upper end, and it's at the ultralight. And you have Hyperlight and the Ultimate Light and Extreme Fast are also 23 millimeters. They have, of course, oval shape and this kind of SWI oval, they call it. It's not really oval, but it's also not round. Maybe the SWI oval feels a little bit thicker as a grip. I'm not sure about that because I don't have it, but they don't have like the normal, as I call it, normal shaft diameter from Zone or Unihack. They have 25 millimeters, and Fatpipe has 25.5 millimeters. So a Fatpipe, as the name says, it has the thickest diameter if you want to have it. In round shafts, of course, oval shafts are different. They feel different. Have a thick diameter on the widest range of the stick of the shaft. Okay, so Hyperlight, and then you have Ultimate Light, and I'm not sure if the Extreme Fast is the same weight as the Ultimate Light, since you cannot see if it's the same carbon type. At the other models, you can see the carbon type on the website, I think. They have it there. It's 2500, 2700, so you can see if it's the same weight or the range of the carbon. So I'm not sure, but it should be lightest or very light. I think it's definitely the Extreme Fast is definitely lighter than the ultralight. So it's Hyperlight or it's the lightest, like the Ultimate Light. It was called Gold as they introduced it, but now to this season they called it Extreme Fast. Okay, and then you have the Fatpipe company, you have the core shaft. It's also, I don't know, around very, very long. It's a compound shaft. I'm not sure about the mixture, how much glass fiber and how much carbon, but it's more or less the same idea as from the other brands. You have a heavier but more durable shaft. It's also not like really, really heavy, but heavier compared to the other ones. And then you have the Next G, which is also not quite new. They just reintroduced it. They had it also, I don't know, maybe 12, 13 years ago. It was a really light shaft back then. 100% carbon, and now they reintroduced it. It's quite interesting because raw concept is really light shaft. I think it's a little bit lighter also than Carbskin and ProLight from Unihawk. Might be the same as the Hyperlight, not much, but a few grams. And they reintroduced the Next G shaft because they said it's for the balance. So as I said, if the shaft becomes lighter and lighter, but the blades don't become so much lighter than compared to the shafts, it might feel a little bit disbalanced. So you have a really lightweight shaft and a quite heavy blade compared to that, and it might feel disbalanced. I don't think it's disbalanced with a raw shaft, even if you play it like, I don't know, the most popular blades like Jab and now the Control blade. If you have it on the raw shaft, it doesn't feel like it's disbalanced, but okay. Maybe at the Next G shaft it feels a little bit lighter if you play it with these blades. Might be also a little bit more durable, but I'm not sure about that. The next important thing about Next G shaft is that they have a thinner diameter. So as I said, Fatpipe has the thickest diameter in the shafts, which was 25.5 millimeters. And at the Next G shaft, they have a 24 millimeter shaft in all the sticks. So it's the same as the ultralight. And I think this is quite new. They also introduced in the last season, I think they introduced thin shafts also at Raw Concept, which have 23 millimeters diameter, so the same as the Hyperlight from Oxdog. And but also in the core section they have thin diameter shafts which have 23 millimeters. So Fatpipe now also has thin shafts. This was, I don't know, not around since I think last season. In this company they only had the 25.5 shafts in the round shafts. And they also have a real oval, which is not with these EVA bands, but like a real oval shaft. I think also they introduced it last season or some seasons before. The thin shafts at Zone and Unihawk are not 23 millimeters, but 23.5, I think, or 23.8 at the Evolab. So it's a little bit thicker than those from Oxdog and Fatpipe at the very light range of the models. Okay, and then you have Salming. Salming was quite big brand years ago, but it's not as big now. So yeah, I'm not sure what's the strategy of the company. Maybe Floorball is not so important anymore. They wanted to reduce it to just some sticks. I'm not sure about that. So of course they have more sticks, but those who are interesting, I think, are the Aero and the Carbon Pro. They changed their policy a little bit, so they for advanced players they only sell, or mostly they only sell the shaft, not combined with the blade. So you have the Aero shaft and the Carbon Pro shaft, and they have like two types of shafts mostly, like the Q series and the P series. Q is basically a lightweight shaft, and the P series is I think more for shooting. I'm not sure like I think the kick point is a little bit different from the Q series. The weight should be about the same. So yeah, it's I think a little bit more about what your playing style is. If you want to have a stick for like shooting, this is most important for you. You might want to have the P series, and if you want to like dribble or just playmaker style, you might want to have the Q series. I think that's the concept of that. The interesting thing is they had the Tourlight Aero shafts for quite long. I'm not sure if they are selling them next season. And this was a shaft which also was 100% carbon. I think it was about in the light class, like comparable to an XG, Ultralight, and so on. But they don't have it anymore in this shaft only series. But they still call it Aero, but as you can see, they have a quite big amount of glass fiber in it, and so this should be a little bit heavier. Even though I was not able to find like really accurate data for that, but should be definitely heavier than the light shafts from the other brands like Airlight or Max or Ultralight or NextG, for example. But the Carbon Pro is 100% carbon and should be around the same weight as the other like very lightweight shafts. So they don't have anything more. They have the kick zone shaft, which should be a little bit heavier, like middle class shaft, also in the Q and P series, I think. I don't know if they have curve shafts anymore. I don't think they don't have it, no. Okay, and then we have Axel, Finnish brand, around like, I don't know, very, very long. They also had many teams, many professional teams, like, I don't know, I can remember Warberg, for example, or Falun was playing Axel for a long time. But then it changed a few years ago, and this brand wasn't around so much anymore. But they came back a little bit in, I don't know, the last 2 or 3 years, and got a new blade, the Effect blade, and also new shafts. And even though they are not around very much today, I think they have like really good shafts, and for a really good price, mostly in the shops if you search for them. And they also released a new blade, the E-Light blade. I will show it on the next chart. and which is also a good lightweight blade. They missed that, I think, in the past. They didn't like really have a lightweight blade. They were also all quite heavy, like 75 grams or something like that. So you have effect shaft and shock absorber, which are both for more for shooting, I think. The shock absorber is like for a quicker release, I think, and the effect is also with a different kick point. Um, so if you're like more into like shooting, you can try them, for example. It's also 100% carbon shaft, and the E-Light shaft is simply a very lightweight shaft. I put it in the lightest category. It's not as light as the Evo Lab, maybe also not as light as the Ultimate Light. I'm not sure about that, but it's definitely lighter than the other very light shafts. So it's a little bit in between them. And combined with the E-Light blade, it's a very light stick. So yeah, this is a little overview about shafts and sticks, so you can compare them, and maybe if you want to buy a new stick or whatever, you can have a little bit better orientation. So next thing is the floorball blades. Also from these 6 brands which I showed you in the first chart. And the class is like normal blades, which are a little bit over 70 grams. And then you have the light blades, which are around 70 grams, maybe a little bit less, like 69, 68. And then you have very light blades, which are clearly under 70 grams. Okay. You have, of course, there are more blades at the brands, but I chose those who I think played the most. For example, at the Unihack, I think you can still buy the Unity blade, which was also introduced, I don't know, about 12 years ago or something like that. But there's no advantage, like because it's heavier and the curve of the blade or the type of the blade is more or less like the Iconic blade. Maybe Iconic not as much concavity, I think, as the Unilight blade, but quite comparable. So there's not much of a difference. So yeah, I think Iconic blade is a blade which is also played still by some players. It's definitely heavier than 70 grams. I'm not sure what's the exact weight. You can see it on the website of the Unihawk, but I'm not sure if it's always like really accurate because, for example, the Epic blade, it's said that it's 73 grams, I think, but the one I have is about 70 grams, so I'm not sure. I think Epic definitely feels lighter than the Iconic, so I put it in the light range. Yeah, as I said, light range, new Evolite blade, it's I think 69 grams. It's like the Unilight blade, just a little bit stiffer, I think, also a little bit heavier, a little bit bigger, but quite the same style of blade. Epic blade, classic blade. I think most of the players know this kind of blade. It's not a completely shooting blade, but also not just playmaker blade like Player or Player Plus blade was. So it has a little bit curve in the blade. Very popular blade. And then of course Player and Player Plus blade is I think something which is still played by many players. Quite straight blade, not much of concavity, but yeah, fits playing style for some players still. And then they introduced Unilight blade. I'm not sure, 2 seasons ago, I think. Very light blade, as I said, around 64 grams. And if you compare it, if you combine it with, as I said, carp skin shaft or max shaft, it feels like very light in the whole stick. At most brands you have PP plastic and PE plastic. Some brands have some additional plastics like PP Titan. It's at the Unihawk brand. It's a more stiffer PP plastic. The main difference between PP and PE plastic is the feeling and of course the weight of the blade. All the blades which I had I have here are in the PP plastic, because the PP plastic is definitely a few grams lighter than the PE plastic. I just have two PE blades because they are mostly played in the PE, because they were introduced like that, and I think most players who played or playing this blade are used to this kind of plastic at the blade. So, but all the others are in PP plastic. Um, but the PE plastic has like a more, I don't know, a kick effect, I would say. You can shoot, I think, a little bit harder with it and a little bit quicker. And the PP, you have more feeling for the ball, since it's softer. The ball just doesn't bounce off your blade so easily as the PE blade. So PP blade definitely very good for beginners, everyone who wants to dribble and stuff like that. PE blades might be for a little bit advanced players, since it's also a little bit heavier. But you can definitely shoot a little bit harder with it, or quicker, I would say, and pass, of course. And it's for most of the brands, most of the blades are all available in all kinds of plastics. Like you have the Unilight blade in PP, PP Titan, and PE plastic, so you can choose whatever you want. Yeah, in the Zone brand, you have the harder blade. I think it's also quite comparable with the Iconic blade. Should be a shooting blade. It was following the Hyper blade, the harder blade, but it's still not as popular as the Hyper blade. Then you have lightweight blades like Hyper. I think it's 71 grams. Super should be a little bit heavier than Hyper blade. And Dream is quite straight blade, like Player or Player Plus blade. It was a Supreme blade before that, and then yeah, they released a new version of it and called it Dream. So Hyper and Super are also like shooting more shooting blades than the Dream blades. And then you have the new R1 blade, like really lightweight, 64 or even 63 grams maybe. It's combination of shooting and playmaking blade. I think it's not so much curved, but still not as straight as the Dream blade, for example. So it should be quite same as Unilight blade. Yeah, you have Oxstock. Oxstock doesn't have like really heavy blades. They always had like quite lightweight blades. Razor and Avox is around for a long time. I think Razor is even a little bit lighter than Avox. Then they had the FSL, which is a really shooting blade, and now they introduced Gate blade, which is like the Avox blade, but with the tip of the Optolite blade. I would say playmaking blade, but also good shooting blade. So the interesting thing at Oxstock is you can like, maybe except from the FSL blade, you can do everything with every blade. Like Avox, you can shoot quite well, but also dribbling is quite good. So they have a good mixture of both. And then you have the Optolite blade. I think it was even introduced as a shooting blade, but I think most like playmaker players are playing this kind of blade. So, for example, Vera Kauppi is playing this blade. I don't know, many other players like Malte Lundmark, for example, also playing this blade. Yeah, so lightweight blade, not as light as R1 or Uniblade. I think it's 66 grams, but definitely lighter than the other blades. But it also has quite a big concavity. I think it's not. I think it's 9 millimeters. Yeah, something like that. At the Oxstock, you have also PP and PE plastic, but they call it MB and NB plastic, or the blades, they are called like that. And they have addition at the blacks, at some blades with a carbon plate in it. I'm not sure. I think it should be a little bit stiffer. Because of that, the weight should be about the same. I didn't notice any difference between MB and MBC, but maybe it's a little bit stiffer at the MBC with a carbon plate in it. Then you have the fat pipe. I think Orc is one of the oldest blades you can have. Maybe the Whiz blade is older than that, but but Orc is still played by I think by some players, and it's classically in the PE, so that's why I have it in PE here. And it is a quite straight blade, but you can curve it like really easily with a like banana hook. I think that's why it's still quite popular, and it's not that heavy. I think it's about 73 grams or something like that, so you can still combine it with some sticks. And yeah, then you have the speed, jab, and control blade. SPD is like a really, really big shooting blade, much big concavity at the blade. Passing feels not that easy with it, but yeah, shooting is really, really easy with it. Then you have jab. It's I don't know, playmaker blade, I would say, and the new control blade. Yeah, also for shooting, playmaking. At Fat Pipe, you have the PP Boost plastic, which feels a little bit stiffer than PP plastic from Unihawk and Zone, for example. It feels more like PE plastic, in fact, but it's not. So yeah, it's on the edge, I think, to the feeling of a PE plastic blade, I would say. But it has a really, really good kick in it. So I think that's why they called it Boost Blade. It's really good for passing and shooting, I think. Yeah, okay. And in Salming, I think the most popular blade, and which is played by most players which who play Salming stick, is the Quest 1 blade, traditionally in the PE plastic. And at Salming, it's called Endurance plastic. Also very old blade, but still like the Orc blade, I would say. Very good blade, which you can have both for shooting and passings. In the factory setting, it's quite straight, but you can curve it really easily. And on the end of the blade at the tip, you have a quite really good nose if you want to curve it there. The ball stays in there very good. Then they introduced Hawk blade a few years ago, which is more shooting blade. Maybe you can compare it to Hyper blade, for example, or to the Iconic blade. Big concavity. So yeah, but it's also quite heavy compared to the Quest 1 blade, for example. And then they introduced Flow. I'm not sure. I think it's Playmaker blade. It's not that popular, but still some players do play this kind of blade. I'm not sure what's the advantage compared to the Quest 1 blade. Yeah, but still, it's a new blade. Maybe it's a little bit stiffer than the Quest 1. And then I have a Quest 1 second time because it's also available in the Touch Plus plastic. I think still most players play it in the Endurance, but yeah, in the Touch Plus it's a little bit more lightweight blade. Of course, in the Hawk blade you can have Endurance and Touch Plus, but I think in the Hawk blade maybe most players might play the Touch Plus plastic there. Because if you have the Endurance, it's even heavier than it already is at the PP plastic. Okay, and in the last section we have Axle. We have these kind of classical blades. Of course, there's like Megalomaniac and whatever, Chill and Ice Blade and so on. But I think those who are still played the most are the X Blade and the Air Blade. Also not that heavy, but still not really lightweight blade. Air is more straight, X Blade is more for shooting. Then they released the Effect Blade, which is like really for shooting blade. It's also quite big blade, has quite big surface in the whole. So, but they are all quite heavy. I think definitely more than 70 grams. They don't have a blade like around 70 grams, but then they have the E-Light blade, which is also quite big, but really light. I think it's maybe 66 or even 64 grams, something like that. And it's a new blade. I think they introduced last season and combined with the E-Light shaft, or even with the other shaft, I think stick might feel very light. It's traditionally sold with the MB plastic if you buy it in the stick. So it's the PP plastic, it's the light version, but there's also, I think, a PE version of this blade. So I think E-Light blade might suit for most players. If you are new to Exo, But of course, if you played Excel for a long time, you might be used to Air Blade or even X Blade or maybe even other blades like Megalomaniac or whatever. But for new players, Elite Blade might be very good. And I saw like these Excel sticks are quite cheap compared to the others, especially in the very lightweight range, like the Elite Chef compared to, for example, Evolite or even to Carpskin or Prolite, is quite is a lot cheaper. Yeah, of course, depends on what shop or where you buy the sticks and if there's a discount on and so on. Okay, and I want to show you some sticks at the website so you can just see what they have and how they look and how it's sorted. Yeah, so as I said, they had the Super Skin series until this season. You can still find the regular shaft. I think you should be able to find it like here, the regular Super Skin regular. And then you have the new series like the Pro and the Max, as I said, and the Carp Skin and the Evo Lab, which is the lightest stick at Unihawk. Yeah, as you can see, it's always there in all the length types, even here in 104 centimeters, and equipped with Unilight Blade, for example. Then you have at Zone, you have here, for example, ultralight, the lightest sticks I was showing. You have pre-light, but it's even heavier than the ultralight stick. And superlight. Zone reduced their stick range at this season, so they don't have as many models as they have before. But yeah, the classic models they still have. And then you have the ProLite sticks also already equipped with the R1. I'm not sure if it's at all the shops, but at their own shop you have the new blade already equipped with it. And of course Airlight series, which I said I think are played by the most advanced players, since it's a very good combination of lightweight shaft, but not too light and maybe not too expensive. Yeah, Oxdog, as I told you, new extreme shaft, extreme fast shaft, which I think was the GOAT before. Then you have Ultimate Light, Hyperlight, and Ultralight. Sense is now with a pink blade. I think last season it was copper or something like that. And yeah, and the fat pipe, you can see here the new Next G series with a thinner diameter of the shaft. Every stick with a 27 flex and the 29 flex, of course, and here you can see 24 millimeters in the diameter. At the fat pipe, you also have the low kick as shaft. It's quite the same as I don't know, the not the kick zone, but the P series maybe in sounding, or the shock absorber and effect shaft maybe. So you have a lower kick point and should be a little bit better for shooting. You have it at the raw concept, but I think they also have it at the core shaft. I'm not sure. Let's see. Yeah, here at the core shaft. So also a little bit cheaper, but heavier, of course. And yeah, Salming, as I told you, they are selling their sticks mostly now only with the shaft. So yeah, you can have the Carbon Pro in 29 or 27 flex. I think both are also available in the white edition, so you can choose if you want to have white or black. And yeah, the difference between P and Q series. And I think they have this I series, which also has a thinner diameter of the shaft, but it's a little bit heavier, so they don't have a like really lightweight stick with a thinner shaft. I think it's more about the weight of the air shaft. I think because it has a it is a compound shaft. It's not 100% carbon. And then you have the axle. Yeah, as I told, effect and shock absorber more for shooting. It's the sticks of the last season. As you can see, they don't already have the new sticks on their website. And then the Elite shaft with the 26 flex and the 29 flex are all equipped with the new Elite blade. This is the Elite, and then this is the Effect blade. Of course, you can have some other sticks which are a little bit heavier, but I think these are the most interesting sticks. Yeah, so that should be all. If you have any questions, of course, you can comment on the video.